And now I'm going to teach you how to kind of press reset. How can you build or rebuild this original strength? And this is a concept that I've adapted and borrowed from a company that is called Original Strength. So they were founded, I believe, at least 13 years back. And they looked at these systems really of the body, particularly the nervous system, developmentally. And if we look at a little baby developing in the movement patterns and the things they learn to do first, second, third, all the way up through walking and running, and then we look at an individual who's lost the ability to move effectively and efficiently, we can retrain these movement patterns so that we can retrain more efficient movement. And with that, strength and stability and power and balance and all those things I've been talking about. So you've learned in this module why people fail because they don't know why they're doing it. They don't know what they're really training for. They just don't have that thing that charges them up and keeps them self-accountable. And again, I really endorse and recommend accountability partners because that can help us stay accountable, whether you're paying a trainer, because then you'll pay attention, or having a workout buddy or partner, somebody that you'll get out there and do this activity with, and they'll keep you accountable and you keep them accountable. So what we're going to do is hit the reset button. Now I have a series of exercises we're going to do, and I'm going to map all those out for you in this module. But I wanted to talk about really the system itself and what it's built around and why it works before we get into the exercises. So it's the reset button, but it's not really the easy button that instantly evaporates years of maybe not moving well, years of not training or looking after your posture or your strength. But there is a reset button, okay? And it can unravel this mystery of why people have lost their way with their strength and their power and their balance and their flexibility and their endurance. And we can turn it all in a better direction very quickly when we start to initiate these exercises. Okay, so this original strength system was created by some really smart folks. A personal trainer that was in the biz for about 20 years and looking at this in a very different way. And the three pillars of movement we were originally designed to do every day. Like if we go way back and we look at little ones, okay? The problem is that our life demands as we age change from when we were kids and we ran and we played and we did all this stuff and we moved really well. And then we got folded into desks and we sat in that for school and then college and then professionally. And we started to really change our posture and we just weren't practicing the movements that we did when we were kids. So if I had to distill this all down to the simplest way of thinking about retraining, we need to do what kids do, okay? This means getting on the ground and rolling around and doing some different things like that to reestablish or rewire these movement patterns that we used to have that we lost by just simply not practicing them. And when we've lost that efficiency in movement, like I watch my little guy who's 3 squat, and he's in perfect form and he can just hang out there and he's belly breathing and he's working on things and he's not straining whatsoever. If I tried to get down and do that, I know I could get down there, I know I could breathe there, but I probably wouldn't look as comfortable as he does. And that's just because it's innate with him. He's just learned that and adapted this capability, and now it's what he does. It's natural. There's not any other way to do it. So the 3 pillars to retrain our best movement, fitness and strength in this original strength kind of platform is deep diaphragmatic breathing, where you shouldn't really feel a burn unless you're really holding those exhales, and then you can get a little bit of ab burn going on there, which is actually a good exercise. So you already learned that in Module 4, so we're going to tap into that. That's why we put that module there. That's why it was so important to learn how to breathe, because if we can learn how to breathe, then we can learn how to breathe when we move. The second is going to be activating our vestibular system. So we have multiple ways our body gets inputs from our environment to keep us stable, okay? One is eyes, so we're getting feedback from our environment into our eyes, all those with the ability to see. Then inside our inner ear, we have these little canals that are filled with fluid, and like grains of sand in an hourglass, they shift and they can tell us what our balance is doing. And then we get some sensory input through our feet, which I've talked about the importance of some minimalist or barefoot training to get these inputs in through our feet. Okay, so vestibular system, number 2. And then 3 is rewiring what we call contralateral, or both sides, or crossing patterns from one side of our body to the other. Because if we look what we do when we walk, we're alternating, right? We don't move both legs forward together and both arms forward together. That's not a very efficient way to move. You'd be hopping. So we're doing these contralateral patterns, crossing movements. Think crawling, walking, marching, those kind of things. So why are these so darn important in this? Because again, these are factory installed movement patterns of efficiency. We were amazingly and beautifully designed to do these things well. And again, just simply watch a toddler move around. They're doing them amazingly. You can learn a lot by just studying their movement. And as they grow these connections in their nervous system. And with that, they grow these new capabilities. Okay, to pick their head up, to then sit up, okay, to then stand up, to then balance, to then walk and then run. So, and all that happens in a couple of years. It's amazing to watch what a developing child, baby, infant, the toddler does in 2 to 3 years. Amazing. The purpose of the developmental sequence, though, was to strengthen the body in a sequence so that that child could explore and conquer their world around them as they were developing. And so we want to be able to do that, right? Conquer the world around us. And we do that by thinking about retraining these systematic patterns. And really a lot of this is nervous system retraining to reconnect our body, right? Our brain, our thoughts, mapping these movements, and then our body following. So other people will begin to blame father time. You know, this happens to everyone if you live long enough and you get stooped over in your posture and you lose your balance and all these other things. But I really think that a lot of that is learned behavior, and it's practice behavior, because if we watch a newborn or if we watch a toddler like I do, they are practicing these really good movements hours a day. And they're connecting these new and efficient movement patterns. And many people are practicing the exact opposite, right? Poor posture and ineffective movement patterns. So, poor posture, poor movement, or no movement, day after day, and what they practice, they become. So, the cool thing about this, to break that cycle for you today, is to look at how do we remap these movement patterns, which is exactly what we're going to get into with the exercise sequence that I have coming your way. Because when you start doing this for you, and I put it together in a way that we can do, again, this minimal effective dose, just a few minutes, or if you have more time, the 15-minute version. And these are great movement corrections, or call them warm-up activities that you can do before you jump into a different type of workout. So I do a lot of this work before I get on the bike and ride, before I get into the weights and pushing them around, because it resets our body to move more effectively and efficiently. So why wouldn't I want to do that at the start of the workout, okay, to get my body primed to then do the movements that are going to follow. And you'll see very quickly as you work through these exercises that if you just do a few minutes here and then recheck a movement that you did, like a squat or a bend to the floor, or get down on the floor and get back up, over time, you should feel pretty quickly that you're doing these movements better and with more ease. Okay, so back to the essential components of their program. We're talking a lot about the breath, right? Because this breathing muscle really ties our body together through the torso, creates this cylinder of strength with our core that we can create a very stable platform to then move from. And we have to be activating our vestibular system, okay, to have good balance and efficiency in our posture and movement. Because if I have text neck, because I'm playing on phones all day and I start to develop this posture, well, this is where my body's going to go, okay? The eyes are going to follow, the weight's going to be forward, and I'm going to pitch forward, right? And then we got to start working these alternating patterns, because a lot of people are really one side dominant and not so dominant with their other side. So get ready, get a mat out, create some space, because we're going to go through some exercises here, one at a time, that you can use to reboot some of these very fundamentally and developmentally important movement patterns. And it's not too late to rewire these things with some practice.